Kale made a grand spectacle of giving me my first kiss. As he kissed me, I was still shy. But then I heard him coldly say, "The bet's done. And the university geek's mouth smells like cheap lipstick. Look at her still pouting. How disgusting." I was still lost in the sweetness of my first kiss when I dumbly asked, "Kale, what are you talking about?" The silence around me was deafening. Kale was notorious in A City for being a rich second generation. His friends were stifling their laughter behind their hands, as if they had already known what would happen, watching me like I was a circus act. I looked around in a panic. "Kale, what are you guys playing? Stop, please." But the person who had just kissed me so passionately was now wiping his mouth vigorously. "You're so naive. So easy to fool. Throwing yourself at me. Stop pretending to be innocent. It was just a kiss." His friends joined in the teasing. "What does it taste like? Come on. Tell us." I pleaded with Kale with my eyes, begging him to stop. I had bought new lipstick just for this kiss, and now it was burning a hole in my pocket. Kale shifted his gaze and laughed at his friends. "What do you want to hear? Sweet peach? Fresh strawberry?" "I'm kidding. It's just the smell of cheap lipstick." "Wait." He suddenly stopped, his expression changing. My lips felt dry, as though I had been publicly stripped bare, with all eyes piercing through me. His friends burst into laughter. "Don't stop. What's the next big reveal?" As I realized what Kale was about to say, despair settled deep in my heart. I huddled in place, my eyes burning with tears, and begged, "Please, don't say any more." But the mocking voices around me grew louder. Kale had already lost control. He mocked loudly. "Good girl. The top student. Did you put on lipstick just for this kiss? How filthy." The surrounding laughter erupted instantly. They were all in stitches. The string in my heart snapped, and I ran out of the crowd, crying. I didn't notice that Kale's expression had shifted. There was a flicker of hesitation in his eyes. He snatched the phone from one of his friends who had been filming and smashed it. "Hey, are you done? Delete all the videos and stop causing trouble. Don't let today's events get out. Anyone who talks about it, I'll tear them apart." The next day, the head of the teaching office called me to his office. He said solemnly, "No wonder your grades have been slipping. You're in a relationship. Being in a relationship means no scholarship, right?" I dug my nails into the scab on my palm, making it bleed again. The pain helped me stay sharp. My family was struggling, and that scholarship was my living allowance. I forced a smile and explained, "Teacher, it's a misunderstanding." The principal pulled out the chat history, with a photo of me and Kale kissing. My awkward expression was enlarged in the photo. My eyes tightly shut, my whole body tense. But Kale was looking at me with an amused expression, his eyes wide open. "Is this a photo of you and Kale? Someone reported you and even posted it in the class group. There's no choice but to cancel your scholarship." After a pause, the principal offered a possible solution. "Unless you have Kale step forward and clarify. His father knows the school board members." I walked out of the office in a daze. And there, right outside the office, I saw Kale surrounded by a group of rich boys. Approaching the office, his brow furrowed slightly, and there was a hint of worry in his eyes. I had seen that expression many times before. When I had a fever before an exam, Kale wore the same expression, urging me to take a sick day. "The midterm exams are tomorrow. It'll affect my scholarship evaluation. No matter what. I can't miss it." Kale heard my half-joking remark and gritted his teeth in frustration. "I've called a doctor over. Hurry up and rest. And what's this nonsense about a scholarship? A measly 10,000? I'll send you 100,000 right now. As Kale's girlfriend, you shouldn't be lacking money." But I didn't want Kale's money. I looked at him seriously and said, "I'm with you because I love you." At that time, Kale looked at me earnestly, like an innocent fool, and smiled foolishly. "Okay. If you're with me, then fine." When I first met Kale, he was the type who kept everyone at arm's length. But behind closed doors, he was thoughtful and kind. He held me close while I took my medicine. Kale stared at me, his Adam's apple bobbing, only to gently kiss my forehead. holding himself back. Leora. Get better soon. I lowered my head, flipping through my problem sets, feeling as though I was submerged in a jar of honey. Now, when I think back, Kale was probably wondering how long he had to keep up the act. He probably thought it was all so cheesy, while I was the only one lost in a dream of young love. Outside the office, Kale met my gaze. His frown softened, and he smiled. Oh, what a coincidence. I quietly asked. Kale, do you know that I've been reported for early dating? Do you know that your good buddy reported me? And I'm about to lose my scholarship? He knew how important that scholarship was to me. Kale tilted his head, as though he didn't hear me clearly. One of his friends by his side chimed in. Kale, the top student is asking you. Why are you zoning out? Do you really like her? Man. Kale can't be that shallow. Can he? Leora is only good at studying. She's just an average person. There are plenty of good-looking, smart girls in our circle. Seeing the shock and suspicion in his friend's eyes, Kale immediately denied it and shoved me away roughly. Yeah. I told them to do it. So what? Hearing Kale admit it in front of me, my heart plummeted. I trembled and begged. Kale, can you just let me go? Can you explain to the teacher that we never dated? Please. But after hearing my plea, Kale's face darkened immediately. He flatly refused. Is it so humiliating for you that you've had a relationship with me? You gave me your first kiss. And that little camisolo you're wearing. I bought it for you. Kale moved closer, pressing me. So, what do you think our relationship is? The head of the teaching office was following behind, looking at me with disapproval and disdain. My face turned pale. It was true. The camisolo was Kale's gift. I had developed early. And the clothes I wore had been bought years ago. They had long since reached their limit. That day during PE class, the shoulder strap broke. When others started teasing me, Kale rushed over and kicked one of them into the sandpit. He covered me with his jacket and threatened everyone. If a single word or picture of today gets out, I'll make sure your entire family gets kicked out. We went to the boutique for the camisolo. Kale, who had been so full of bravado at first, was now shrinking his shoulders. Standing next to me, his palms were sweating as he held my hand. I gripped his hand tightly in return. The sales associate asked easily. That's great. Are you buying for your girlfriend? Kale's voice was hoarse as he replied. Yeah. Let her try on the best brands. That day, if I hadn't stopped him, Kale would have almost bought the whole store. I only picked 3 items with the best cost performance, since one item's price was almost my entire month's allowance. Clothes make the man. Look. You're already looking much better. He hugged me from behind, but absently brushed against the strap. His hand instantly jerked away. The boy's blush surpassed any confession. But now, Kale, in front of all the teachers and classmates, had stripped away my privacy. The protection he once gave me had now become shackles. The tightness of my little tank top squeezed my insides painfully. I forced myself to hold back, stopping the tears from spilling. A girl in a short skirt squeezed her way to Kale's side and playfully asked, Kale, are you going to accept my confession? Or, do you prefer this style? Everyone, except for Kale, fell silent. I recognized her immediately. Soren, the famous young lady from the school. True to her name, she was eccentric and carefree, indulging in whatever she pleased, regardless of Kale's expressions. Kale noticed my gaze and grinned, casually taking the girl's hand. Fine. I accept. Girlfriend. Let's go on a date now. He turned to the head of the disciplinary office and mocked. This is my girlfriend. As for Leora, I don't have such poor taste, just a little joke. Let her have the scholarship. She needs it more. It felt like a charity as I shakily finished the application materials. As I wrote, my tears blurred the ink on the paper. Kale was never on my side. To him, this had always been a game. It was time to wake up from this dream. But after school, someone blocked my way. It was Kale's new girlfriend, Soren, the young lady from the Soren family. She was fiddling with the sequins on her nails, then handed me a transfer application. Leora, right? Transfer schools quickly. so I can take the top spot. Indeed. Soren wasn't just from a prestigious family. She was also outstanding in her studies. But before this, I had never had any interaction with her. I shivered and replied, Soren, if you want to improve your grades, you could come to me for help. Soren snorted, interrupting me. Mind your own business. I have a private tutor. Okay? I can't stand the sight of you. You're Kale's ex. You're just annoying. But I had just applied for the scholarship. Seeing me hesitate, Soren handed me a card. There's enough money on it for you to study until you're 80. The only condition is that you leave Kale. And my pride wavered. Soren delivered the final blow. This money can buy your future. Don't be foolish for the sake of your pride. Are you unwilling to let go of Kale? For the money. And to prove I could abandon Kale. I turned around and submitted the transfer application. The process went smoothly. The principal's expression was one of regret, but there were no attempts to keep me. The Soren family contacted me. Leora, study hard and keep improving. From that day on, I deliberately avoided Kale. We lived under the same roof. But I made sure not to look up at him. Every day, he flaunted his new girlfriend in front of me. They talked about love at the loudest volume, as if afraid no one would notice. Like a child trying to attract attention on purpose. I buried my head in my books and refused to give Kale even a glance. But he was angry. As he passed by, he kicked my desk, scattering everything onto the floor. Among the mess was a couple's mug. The one Kale had once given me. You're blocking my girlfriend's way, he said, his voice sharp. As soon as he spoke, he glanced at the mug, a strange expression forming on his face. He leaned in, lowering his voice. You still keep it? How sentimental. I simply picked up the desk and the scattered papers. Not saying a word. After evening study, I ran into Kale and his new girlfriend again, embracing each other under the streeteltwide. I tried to avoid them. But Kale saw me. Leora, why are you hiding? Are you stalking me? His tone was strange. Almost playful. I knew it. You still can't let go. His new girlfriend, Soren, looked me over and clung to Kale's arm. Pouting. Who is this? Are you disturbing us? I tight in my grip on my books. About to leave. When I heard Kale's indifferent voice. We know each other. She's special. Specially ordinary. Specially dull. He added under his breath. I pushed aside my unrealistic hopes. Anyway, tomorrow I would be leaving with my bags packed. Kale stopped me again. Leora, you're taking so many books with you? You're acting like you're dropping out of school. Don't think I'll beg you to stay. I had planned to say goodbye. But it seemed there was no need anymore. I hurried out. And my transfer notice slipped from my pocket. It fell at Kale's feet. He picked it up, about to read the details. Soren snatched it from him and shoved it back into my hand. Get lost. Don't interfere with us. I gave her a grateful glance before walking toward the dormitory. Kale's voice called out from behind, and I hurried even faster. After the last class, having fulfilled my ansai, I prepared to pack my things and transfer schools. Before leaving, I gave away the things I couldn't take with me. They were all gifts Kale had given me. Birthday presents. Study decorations on my desk, various things. All tokens of how he used to try to win my affection. My deskmate noticed the bracelet I had just taken off. Leora, are you giving this bracelet away too? It's a brand name item. Really expensive. It was a customized piece, an ing fulfilled myest piece. Named First Love. It was Kale's token of affection. To buy it, Kale had worked part-time. Kale, wearing a small apron, was packing milk tea when he looked up at me. What are you doing here? The young master didn't lack money. The school library was even donated by his family. I worked part-time and often got mocked by Kale. Now, Kale was blushing. And before he could speak, the store clerk revealed the truth. He's saving money to buy a gift for the girl. That's when I realized he had been finding time to work part-time. Just to earn enough money to buy me a gift. Back then, we weren't officially together. He had confessed to me multiple times. Each time, he made grand gestures. but I never agreed. But that day, Kale was just wearing an ordinary apron. His fingers were red from washing. And the skin was cracked. His hands, once so soft and delicate, were now scarred. He had worked hard just to buy a gift. I took the drink from him. Warmth gradually spreading in my chest. I asked seriously, "Do you still mean it? About the confession?" Kale froze, making several mistakes while preparing milk tea. After his shift, he picked me up outside. "Leora, I'll treat you well." He emptied his savings. And after being recommended by the clerk, bought the customized bracelet. No discount needed. My love has no price gut. I scolded him for not being frugal. But Kale simply held my hand and placed it on his chest. His gaze was gentle and deep, like a calm lake. "Leora, I'm nervous. I've never been this nervous before." His heartbeat traced. Now, my desk mate was trying on that bracelet. The shiny beads glittered, making my eyes sting. "Leora, did he really give it to you? How about I transfer you money?" "It's too expensive. It's a gift. Otherwise, it would have been thrown away." I threw all the unwanted things into the trash, including the mug, which shattered into pieces when it hit the bin. I realized there was still a meal card left. When we were together, Kale had loaded it with a lot of money. I posted it on the confession wall. And soon someone came to buy it. During the exchange, someone dashed forward, kicking the buyer aside. It was Kale. His face was dark with anger, his chest heaving, as he snatched the card from my hand. "Leora, this trick of yours is a little disgusting." The card had our initials written in small letters. I had taken good care of it. Almost like Mew. The guy who had bought the card screamed loudly. "Kale, stop. I'm starving. It's just a card. And you two broke up ages ago." Kale snapped the card in half and threw it at the guy's face. "Get lost. I'm not selling it. That card was worth thousands. Gone to waste." I crouched down, trying to salvage the chip inside, thinking it could still be used. But Kale stomped on it, crushing the fragments into the ground. Desperate for money? Gone crazy? Selling even this? His arrogant face had a scowl now, but his mouth stubbornly tilted upwards. "I heard you sold all the stuff I gave you. You even said you were going to transfer schools. Trying to force me to get back together with you? Here. You get full tuition and a scholarship. Who would want you if you leave?" This was the first time I'd ever seen him this angry. I was about to leave and didn't want things to get more awkward. I softened my tone. "Kale, please don't be angry. I'm sorry. Can we be done with it?" He sighed in relief, moving closer to check my hands. "Did you get hurt? The ground's so dirty. Don't pick it up. If you need money, come to me. I'm not that petty. Even if you still like me, don't do things like this to provoke people." There was no one around us. Just the two of us. His haughty expression suddenly softened. Almost as though we hadn't broken up at all. As though he still liked me. I stared at his face in a daze, watching his nervous, trembling eyelashes. My heart wavered. "Hey. Kale's here." His group of rich friends showed up. "Oh, so you're here looking for your ex? So nostalgic? I told you he's sentimental. But you didn't believe me. After all that luxury, eating a little wild food isn't that bad." The moment Kale heard the voices, he shoved me away, letting my body collide with the wall. His expression changed, but he only dusted his hands off and lifted his chin. "Yeah, I've got charm. It's Leora who's pestering me, begging for us to get back together. I'm just pitying her. Don't think too much." One tall guy seemed intrigued. "Kale, I've never had a geeky student before. Ask her to keep me company. Money's not an issue. Why are you so quiet? You're reluctant. Huh?" I looked at Kale. His mouth was tight, and after a long pause, he squeezed out a fine. "Leora, be a good girl. Consider this your punishment for losing my things." The love in my heart shattered, replaced by pure rationality. I gave the tall guy a playful gesture to come with me. "Fine," let out a low sigh. "Come back to the dorm with me." I was moving out. The tall guy grinned foolishly and followed. "Leora, how dare you? Kale glared at us as we walked away. His fists clenched. But he didn't follow. My heart turned cold. And I ended this pathetic first love drama unilaterally. After carrying the last bag, the rich guy rolled up his sleeves. Out of breath. All done? Is this how Kale treats you when you're together? Huh. Kind of refreshing. I gave him a thumbs up, praising him for being way better than Kale. The rich guy immediately puffed up with pride and called Kale. Leora said, I'm better than you. Your love life is quite fresh. So many tricks. It's exhausting. My back is killing me. He was panting like a bull. And I handed him water. Thanks. This is the first time I've had someone do this for me. Kale's furious voice cracked through the phone. Fuck. Did you touch her? Looking to die? Leora. What the hell are you doing? Stand there. I'll be right there. The rich guy jumped in surprise. He, a tall fool, hung up and urged me. Get out of here. Kale sounds mad. So weird. But I had left my backpack in the dorm. So I had to go back for it. When I came back downstairs, Kale was already waiting at the door. Sweat beaded on his forehead. His lips pale. Blocking the way. Leora. Where did he touch you? Tell me. Kale reached out. Inspecting my face, neck, and arms. His voice was choked with rage. You couldn't just reject him? I can't even bring myself to touch you. I still feel something for you. I knew he misunderstood. But I didn't want to explain anymore. My roommate came running down. And Kale immediately swallowed his words. Leora. Here's your blow dryer. Almost forgot. Kale noticed I was holding a lot of bags. His expression surprised. Leora. So late. Where are you going? My roommate, being blunt, said. She's transferring schools. Didn't you know? Kale's palm almost crushed my shoulder as he gripped it. He bent down with effort. His voice forced from his throat. What does that mean? But Kale couldn't stop me. In front of everyone. He had no status or reason to hold me back. I was curious. Were you trying to get back together? Do you really like me? You're nothing. Go ahead. I don't care. Kale denied it with his words. But his eyes betrayed him. He was waiting for me to stay. Just like all those times before when we fought and made up. But I had no time to waste. Not for a childish game. As I walked toward my new class, I bumped into someone. He was tall and thin, standing at the corner. A few books fell from his arms. His face seemed familiar, with eyes that slanted up. But instead of sharpness, there was a gentle scholarly air about him. I apologized and picked up the books. He smiled slightly. It's fine. Leora. His tone was natural. As though he knew me well. By the time I realized it, he had already walked into the office. As I entered the classroom and started introducing myself, everyone in the class looked at me with curiosity. Their gazes friendly. While I was writing my name on the board, I suddenly shivered. Wait. How did that guy know my name? The seat next to me was empty. My new classmate leaned over to whisper. That's Soren. The class rep. Also top of the grade. Although Soren's handsome, he's a bit distant. Plus, his older brother's protective. Last time, someone confessed to Soren. And his brother chased them off. Nobody dares to get too close to him. So you should probably keep your distance too. Confess? I just wanted to compete with him for the top spot. When my new desk mate sat down, I looked up to clearly see his face. His eyes were pure black. His hair just above his brows. Neat and sharp, with perfect proportions. Embodying a sense of uprightness. It was him, the boy I had bumped into earlier. It was Soren. Noticing my gaze, Soren asked, Am I more interesting than the problem? He didn't seem that aloof. I quietly distanced myself, thinking he might have a few issues. After leaving Kale, my life had returned to its simple routine: school, home, school. But Soren, my new desk mate, seemed to appear everywhere. Like a shadow. Library, cafeteria, even the evening study sessions. But my desk mate mentioned that Soren always came and went like a ghost. I couldn't help but wonder. Why was he everywhere? During PE, when it was time to draw for equipment, The gym committee called out both mine and Soren's names. Your turn. You too. Go ahead. Male and female partners work best. Soren walked slowly, his shadow dragging under my feet. He spoke first, casually asking about my preferences. That was my chance. Class monitor. Can you help me with a problem later? The third question on the function section of the mock exam. I have a solution that's. By the time we reached the equipment room, Soren seemed tired of talking. His expression soured, and he pulled open the door with difficulty. It's broken, he said, his face changing as he tugged at the handle. The old iron ore was indeed stuck, no matter how hard he kicked it. The glass windows were welded with anti-theft bars. I looked at Soren and suggested, shall we kick the door and yell for help? But Soren furrowed his brow and leaned against the wall, clutching his chest. Wait a minute. I don't feel well. He sat down, closing his eyes. I had no choice but to kneel down to check his breathing and pulse. As I pressed his occupants, Soren opened his eyes. What are you doing? I could only admit. We still have class later. Can you hold on a bit longer? Soren unbuttoned the top of his shirt, sighing in relief. He smiled slightly and said, Leora, look at your dark circles. You should rest for a bit. Through the reflection in the glass, I saw my tight lips and straight shoulders, propping up my school uniform shirt. I remembered Kale had said something similar once. He had hugged my shoulders, snatched the book out of my hands. Don't work so hard. I'll take care of you later. Even if you read 1,000 books, you'll still have to work. Why not just marry me? You'll never have to worry about food or clothes. I slapped him, and Kale lowered his head to coax me. All right. I'll stay with you. Was he about to use that same lazy, no effort spiel again? Before I could speak, Soren handed me a small booklet from his pocket. It was a formula guide. Leora, take a look at the sunlight outside first. Take a break and study later. It's not too late. He looked at me openly, the sunlight hitting his lashes, casting shadows on his face. You've come this far. My opponent. After that day, Soren and I became rivals in our studies, yet everyday friends. He'd get my lunch for me, and I'd tear his practice papers. The people behind us would always mutter, Soren's sister is coming to stir things up again. But nothing ever happened. Life went on peacefully. Before the exams, Soren and I both filled out the same school for college applications. I patted his shoulder, signaling we'd walk this path together. Soren smiled without speaking, tossing a paper over to me. Additional test. I buried myself in homework, preparing for the city rankings. When Kale and his new girlfriend had a falling out, videos of their argument and fight spread across every campus. Soren called him a spoiled rich kid with nothing to offer but his appearance. Kale retorted, calling her a demoness, someone even he wouldn't bother with. A classmate gossiped with me, saying, I heard Kale still can't forget his first love. How sentimental. She looked at me with envy. Who could have won Kale's heart? I heard he skipped several weeks of class and spent his days drowning his sorrows at the bar. A passionate young master pining for his lost love. How exciting. Kale was always doing things that made him feel good about himself. I found it irritating, so I shut my classmate up. Recently, there had been many unfamiliar faces on campus, as if there were some kind of competition going on. After school, I walked along, practicing my notes in hand. A figure approached Soren. He invited me to the basketball game. Leora, come with me. I wanted to refuse, but Soren was prepared. He pulled out a stack of papers. These are recent practice papers. If you accompany me to 3 games, I'll give them to you. I was intrigued. All right. Let's go. When we arrived at the stadium, I found out that Soren was the one competing. He changed into his jersey, revealing the muscles usually hidden beneath his clothes. Soren handed me a bottle of water. Leora, I'm not very popular, and no one will pass me water or cheer for me. Could you help me out? Sure enough. On the court, there was only the cheerleading squad, no one else was cheering for Soren. I respected him as a competitor and nodded silently. Don't worry. I'll make sure you get a big cheer. The opposing team came out, and to my surprise, Kale was among them. He usually avoided group activities, but this time he was the key player. Kale stood boldly at the center, his hair and clothes carefully styled, making his face look even more arrogant. He scanned the audience, searching for someone. I pulled up my mask and sat among the school's cheerleaders. Kale's friends boasted loudly on the sidelines. Kale, just play around, give them a free win. I heard you've got a bookworm on your team, don't mess up their brains. They'll never read again. Kale nodded absently. One of the teammates from his school frowned and was about to speak, but Soren calmly said, "You guys are amazing. I'm sure you'll win." In the first match, Soren moved with ease, collaborating with his teammates, dunking repeatedly. He threw Kale's side into disarray. During halftime, Soren was calm, but his words pierced. "Thanks to the opposite side for going easy on us." Kale clenched his teeth, tossing the towel on the ground, cursing. Soren turned away and walked straight towards the cheerleading squad. His eyes locked onto me. "I'm thirsty." No one dared pass him water. I was puzzled, such a prominent figure. He should have plenty of fans. Turns out, he really wasn't popular. I twisted the cap of the water, but Soren crouched down, tilting his head back. "Could you feed me?" My hand was injured by the other team. "It hurts." "Thanks. Leora. Can I call you that?" At the sound of his name, Kale suddenly looked up from across the court. As the basketball flew towards us, Soren blocked it with his back. "Are you okay?" I immediately supported him as he crumpled beside me, his tall frame leaning into my arms. Kale saw us and rushed over like an angry lion, baring his teeth. "You shameless bastard. Stay away from her. Leora, come over here." His face was filled with panic when he saw me. "You didn't get hurt, did you?" I get nervous and lose control when I'm like this. "Why did you have to get so close to him?" I helped the injured Soren up and gave Kale a cold look. "Did you come here just to bully my friend?" Soren's head rested closer against my shoulder. Kale's eyes flickered. "Friend? Where is he, a guy? He must have feelings for you." "Don't be fooled. I'm not with Soren. We're just doing this to mess with you. I still like you, Leora." Even with a crowd around, Kale didn't care about his pride. He shouted, his neck turning red. I was too studious to understand what he meant. Seeing that Kale was about to drag me away, the cheerleaders jumped up in unison, blocking him like a wall. "Go away. This is our turf." Kale's face turned pale, and he took a few steps back. "Leora. Our relationship." I was growing impatient. "There is no relationship." The game ended, and Kale's team lost with no points scored. His teammates dared not express their anger, sitting dejectedly on the ground. Only Kale had his head down, a towel wrapped around his head, and a puddle of water on the ground. Though whether it was sweat or something else, no one knew. Some people are just cheap, only realizing what they've lost after it's gone, and trampling on sincerity when they have it. Soren walked over, rubbing his waist, blocking Kale's view. "Leora. My side still hurts," he said, his eyes full of grievance. "I'm over 6 feet tall, suddenly reduced to a fragile kitten." My heart instantly softened. At the team's celebratory dinner, Soren invited me. "Thanks for cheering me on. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have had the strength to win the game." Soren had changed into his clothes, once again hiding his solid physique. I couldn't help but glance at him, feeling a little more motivated to study. Through the fence, the voices of the people at the back table grew loud. While I was trying to eat, I overheard familiar voices. "Kale, stop getting angry. You're not lacking company. What does Leora have that's so charming to make Kale fall for her? It's fine. After all, she gave him her first time, so it's not a loss. Soren's just picking up someone else's leftovers." The sound of a fist hitting flesh echoed, followed by a table flipping. Everyone turned to look. Kale had punched the person who had spoken, but the guy was quickly held back, his face flushed red. "Who gave you the nerve to say that about her? She's always liked me. Even stalked me. Accepted my gifts. Just wait. She's only throwing a tantrum. We'll get back together soon." Fate was cruel. Kale saw me behind the screen. I acted indifferent. Just like when I hadn't cared for him. No longer even glancing at him. He lost his cool. Leora. Do you have no conscience? You're still wearing the clothes I picked out for you. And the token of our relationship. Wait. Why is your hand empty? He noticed only then that I wasn't wearing the bracelet anymore. I sighed. Kale. Stop this. Your girlfriend will get angry. Don't act like a child. Kale stammered. About to call Soren to clear things up. But Soren quickly raised his phone. Hey, heading so and so. Your ex is bullying your brother and your sister-in-law. Come and deal with him. It was the first time I saw Soren's punch. She jumped off her pink motorcycle and landed a punch squarely on Kale's face. True to her name. She was bold and unrestrained. Soren frowned at me and Kale. How many times has he bullied you too? 10 punches per time. But Kale pushed himself off the wall, glaring at me with a trembling voice. Leora. I'll ask you one last time. Will you come with me? I admit. I used to care about my image. But it's different now. I'm 100 sure. I like you. I love you. He pulled open his shirt, revealing a new tattoo. It was our initials. Exactly the same as the token of our relationship. Soren's friends went silent. All staring at me. Their gazes filled with reproach. Leora. He likes you this much. Don't disappoint Kale. He's even thrown away his dignity. Don't you know? Because of you. He's ruined his stomach. And your relationship with Kale has become famous in the circle. It won't be easy to find a good man here. After all, your first kiss was with Kale. I grabbed the 2 siblings beside me, preventing them from charging forward. My lips aren't my chastity seal. And that seal never existed in the first place. Kale. As for my future, I have talent and money. But it doesn't include you. Kale's eyes turned bloodshot. He was about to speak. But Soren's high heel slammed into his face. Soren's body softened. And in a low voice, she said, my back's hurting again. Leora. I immediately supported her. Not even looking back. And walked straight out of the restaurant. Kale's voice followed. Hysterical. Soren covered my ears with her hand. Her palm hot and burning. Kale had disappeared. I got a message from his parents just as I was preparing for the last exam. It was an important exam. The voice on the other end was harsh. Questioning how long I had been bullying Kale. I don't know what tricks you used to seduce him. But don't think you can turn a mountain chicken into a phoenix. Last night, Kale was on his knees begging us to approve of you too. Dream on. Show a little conscience and let go of Kale. What a poor excuse for a person. I silently flipped through my notes. Responding calmly. Your son has been clinging to me. Even kneeling. Getting tattoos. And skipping exams. A child who doesn't learn is the fault of the parents. I was the one who abandoned him. The other side erupted in curses. And I hung up the phone. Before entering the exam hall, I blocked all contacts from Kale's family. Walking forward, Soren was waiting for me in the stairwell. Good luck, you luck. We'll see each other later. I need to talk to you about something important. Kale actually went to the exam hall. He knew his parents were looking for Leora. Worried she'd be put in a difficult situation. So he dragged his injured leg to the school gate. But Leora was walking towards another guy. Soren looked at him from a distance. A smile of disdain and mockery on his face. Kale bit his lip, wanting to rush in. But the security guard stopped him and asked for his ID. What ID? I'm going in to find my girlfriend. Move. The security guard gave him a once-over. Don't waste other people's time. Kid. Kale froze. Staring at his reflection in the glass window. His cheeks were hollow. Dark circles under his eyes from insomnia. Before, Leora had stayed up late studying and looked the same. He had laughed at her then. Asking why she worked so hard when she could just be his wife. At that time, Leora had given him a complicated look. Kale thought for a moment but ultimately didn't go in. After all, this was Leora's dream. He would just have to let her have it. He silently waited outside the exam hall for several days. Finally, heading Feldly. When the last exam ended and Leora walked out, her smile was radiant. And Kale's flowers trembled in his hands. This was his last chance. But when Leora walked out, she was holding someone else's hand. Walking into the sunlight. Talking about their future. Soren. It's going to snow at Beijing University. I've never seen it before. I've never seen it either. I'll watch it with you. Okay. Kale stood under the tree's shade, listening awkwardly as though he were a rat eavesdropping through the sewer. In Leora's future, there was no room for him. He suddenly went mad. Shoved the flowers into his mouth. Chewed them up. And swallowed. Uncaring of the shocked looks from passersby. Kale completely lost control. After all, her first kiss was with him. That clumsy kiss had actually tasted wonderful. He tore at his own lips. Slapped his own face. The tattoo was still inflamed, but the pain was in his heart. But Leora no longer cared about him. Their laughter grew fainter as they walked further away, leaving him alone in the place. Extra, Soren's curiosity. Soren heard that his younger sister had been beaten out of the top spot by a girl. Soren had always been arrogant. And this was the first time he had lost. And he wasn't happy about it. Fuming. She found Soren. I even hired a personal trainer. And I still can't beat her. Brother. Get me that first place. Soren thought of her as just a child throwing a tantrum. Later. His sister angrily showed him the honor board. She was still the perennial runner-up. The first place was Leora. A girl with a high ponytail. A smooth forehead. No makeup. And a pair of bright eyes. Winning quote. What a coincidence. I'm first again. Soren couldn't help but laugh out loud. This was fun. The younger sister sneered. What a pity. She's with that snob from across the street. Lou bet I. They're playing a game. Betting on her first kiss. Soren frowned, looking somewhat disgusted. How old are they? Acting so childish? She's just a girl. You should go stop her. Don't let that guy bully her. Why should I? I hope she falls head over heels in love. And lets me take her seat. Soren knew that despite his sister's tough exterior, she was soft-hearted. Later, Soren privately made a bet with someone his sister would go after Kale. To expose his ugly nature. And the top-ranked girl in their grade was transferred to his school by his sister. She even appointed herself as the girl's personal academic bodyguard. Soren was flipping through a book in the living room, waiting for his sister to return from the party. His smile dark and scheming. Soren. What's your plan? You set her up as my new desk mate? His sister was doing her nails while solving math problems. Bro. Do me a favor. Don't let that Leora push you off the top spot. Soren's interest was piqued. He'd forgotten love always starts with curiosity. Before meeting Leora in person, he had already met this peculiar girl through his sister's descriptions. But when they finally met, Soren was taken off guard. He impulsively called out her name. Fortunately, having fulfilled my obsession, she didn't notice. His new desk mate didn't speak much. When she found out she was ranked first in the grade, she gave him a brief glance. The rest of the time, she was buried in her books. She didn't give him a second glance. In fact, even her face and name didn't seem to match up. When Leora called out class monitor, for the nth time, Soren asked, Do you know my name? Leora froze. Her gaze momentarily vacant. Sorry. Is it Soren? At least she remembered his name. He breathed a sigh of relief, gently reminding her. We're desk mates. Don't be so formal. Just call me by my name. Soren suspected there was something wrong with him. Ever since he started paying attention to his new desk mate, his gaze couldn't help but linger on her. Leora had a habit of pushing her hair behind her ear when solving problems. For easy questions, her breathing was steady. For harder ones, her breath would lengthen, her little finger brushing against the paper. The friction of the paper matching the quick and beats of his own heart. When she solved a difficult problem, a smile would curve her lips. And she'd even call out to him. Her tone tinged with challenge. Soren. Come try this one. Soren hadn't expected someone to enjoy solving problems so much. What did she want, exactly? His curiosity only deepened. Before the mock exams, there was a match against a school from another district. Someone asked Soren to participate. He wasn't initially interested. But then, the event sounded grand, and Leora might attend. Would she look up from her books and focus only on him? That thought made Soren agree, though there was a slight sense of awkwardness and shyness in him. But on the day of the match, Leora hurried to the cafeteria. Soren instinctively blocked her path. Want to come watch the game? After some persuasion, Leora finally agreed. He let out a relieved sigh. Soren secretly contacted the cheerleaders, arranging for them to cheer for him this time. I've hired a personal cheerleading squad. The girls were gossiping. Class monitor. You're up to no good. The rivals met on the court. Soren cast a dismissive glance at Kale. The little rich kid from the opposing team. He had no talent. Nothing at all. Yet somehow Leora had liked him. Except for that flashy face of his. Before the match, Soren made sure to check himself in the mirror, adjusting his clothes and hair. A teammate passing by remarked, "Wow. The iron tree's blooming?" Only then did Soren realize how long he'd been messing with his bangs to get the right curve. As expected, Kale lost. Things from the past, naturally, ended up under Soren's dominance. And he lost spectacularly. Once Leora cheered for him with a smile. Kale had no chance left. "You're amazing." Leora's praise came naturally. And Soren's throat tightened as he heard it. He lied shamelessly for the first time. Just so the girl in front of him would give him some water. Her wrist was slender. And she twisted open the bottle with ease, bending down to pour the water for him. Her gaze was sincere. Soren looked away, swallowing the water, letting the droplets fall on his proud muscles. But Leora's tone was serious. "How old are you? And you're still letting water spill from your mouth?" Soren silently put on his shirt, throwing flirtatious glances at a blind person. On the opposite side, Kale looked like a deflated ball, slumped in place. From start to finish, Leora didn't give him a single glance. The last exam ended. Soren made his way through the crowd, heading straight for the person he had eyes for. At the moment of confession, his heart raced faster than the sound of the bell marking the end of the exam. He had recited the love letter 100 times, but now forgot all the words. But Leora smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Soren, why are you shaking so much?" She liked the shy version of him. As Soren stood dazed, the girl extended her hand, smiling confidently. "Boyfriend. Happy graduation." Soren grasped her hand, holding it with all his strength. He was about to tell her about his past. "Actually, the first time we met wasn't at school. I knew you long before that. After I finished the story. Can I kiss you?" That was the last time I ever brought up our engagement to Julian. The room fell silent at first. Then, went on a low sigh. Seeing the impatient look on Julian's face, everyone suddenly burst into laughter. What era are we in? Who still talks about childhood betroth less like it's the feudal age? Our dear Elena has always had a lofty sense of pride. Is she finally feeling threatened? I ignored the messy laughter and jeering. I only looked at Julian, who was seated on the sofa. His shirt collar was slightly open, and faint marks could be seen along his neck and collarbone. My heart felt like it was being pricked by a fine needle. The pain came slowly, almost after the fact. Back then, we were young and naive. That's the only reason I would agree to something so ridiculous. Julian looked up, a faint, mocking smile at his lips. He cast a lazy glance at me. "Elena. We're adults now. What happened when we were kids, just let it go." I stared blankly at him, just about to speak, when the door to the room was pushed open. Vivian walked in, dressed in a server's uniform, carrying a tray. She flinched the moment she saw me, murmuring softly, "Sis. No, I mean, Miss Elena." Then she shot a quick, teary glance at Julian. Sorry. Am I disturbing you?" Her voice trembled as she spoke, and she made to leave after setting down the tray. But Julian suddenly kicked over the coffee table in front of him. Glasses shattered, sending shards of glass flying everywhere. My arm was cut, and blood welled up, stinging sharply. But Julian didn't even glance at me. Face grim, he stormed up to Vivian. He reached out and roughly tore off the ruffled apron she was wearing. Vivian, didn't I tell you not to work part-time anymore?" Vivian quickly nodded obediently. But then her eyes turned red and she said in a timid voice, I just didn't want to keep taking your money. You and your brother have already given me so much. I thought I could earn my own living. But I can't bear to see you like this. Julian threw the apron aside. You're coming back with me right now. And if I ever see you working again, wherever you go, I'll shut that place down. Then he turned to look at me. And if anyone dares bully her again, don't blame me for forgetting old ties. I held my bleeding arm, face expressionless, locking eyes with him in the chaos. This club was owned by my family. Julian thought Vivian had come here to work because I was deliberately bullying her. But the joke was, Vivian was now being treated like a princess by him and my brother. She had more money than she could ever spend. Why would she voluntarily come here to suffer through a lowly job? But I knew. Even if I spoke out, even if I brought in the club manager as a witness, Julian wouldn't believe me. In his eyes now, I was nothing but the vicious villainess, using my status to bully the pure, innocent heroine. Elena. Julian pulled Vivian protectively into his arms. You're too much for me to handle. This so-called engagement, let's just forget it. His words silenced the room again. Vivian's face turned deathly pale as she trembled into Julian's embrace. Their friends all looked at me warily. I suddenly found it all a little funny. Yes, from the moment Vivian's mother intruded into our family, and Vivian entered between Julian and me, I had reacted. I had lashed out. Because all the love that once belonged to me alone was suddenly being showered on Vivian and her mother. How could a spoiled heiress like me possibly endure that? But all my crying and tantrums only pushed the people around me further toward her. Now I was simply tired, completely worn out. Fine. I nodded calmly. Took a few steps forward. Julian instinctively shielded Vivian behind him. Elena, if you have a problem, take it out on me. I let go of my bleeding arm and held my hand out. My snow-white palm was soaked in crimson. Julian's lips tightened, and something in his cold eyes seemed to shift. But at that moment, Vivian suddenly broke free from his embrace. Miss Elena, please don't make things hard for him. This is all my fault. I shouldn't have come. I shouldn't have gotten in between you two. As she spoke, tears spilled dramatically down her cheeks. I'll leave right now. Vivian, I told you I'll handle everything. Julian's horror taked in an instant. While wiping her tears, he looked back at me. The flicker of hesitation in his eyes vanished completely, replaced by sheer loathing. Elena, can't you stop clinging like this? I cut him off. Fine. Let's call off the engagement. But give me my things back. Julian froze. What things? I reached up and untied the red string around my neck. Dangling from it was a jade pendant, a family heirloom his mother gave me when our engagement was arranged. What my mother gave him was even more valuable. An artifact once from the imperial palace, blessed by a Tang dynasty monk. This jade pendant goes back to you. Now give me the bracelet. Julian's face grew cold. His eyes settled on the pendant in my hand. He hadn't taken it off since he was 15. You think everyone's as desperate as you? Everyone in our circle knew how much I treasured this jade. With a cold glare, Julian snatched it from my hand. What a piece of trash. Can't believe you carried it around like a sacred relic. He gave me one last frigid look. I'll find the bracelet and send it to you. After that we're done. When I got home, my brother Caleb was waiting for me in the living room. Elena, there's something I need to tell you. He handed me a thick stack of documents. I'd decided to transfer the ownership of this office building to Vivian, let her collect the rent. She's been through so much. Now that she's with us, she deserves to finally have it easy. I glanced at the papers. That building was part of my mother's inheritance, property she brought from her own family. Without a word, I picked up the documents and tore them in half. Elena, what do you think you're doing? Caleb pushed up his glasses, visibly disapproving. I already helped you cover up the incident when you pushed Vivian down the stairs. She's been wronged enough. Giving her a building is hardly unreasonable. Have you forgotten what Mom told you before she died? He fell silent. Before she passed, Mom had clutched his hand and made him swear. Swear to protect me for the rest of my life. To love and cherish me. To never let anyone hurt me. To never let anyone take what was mine. I haven't forgotten. But Elena, Now that Vivian is also my sister. Is it really too much if I give half of my love to her? You're too willful. Too difficult. Elena. Caleb sighed. Why can't you be more like Vivian? I wanted to laugh. But instead, tears filled my eyes before I could stop them. Caleb. Mom's things, no one is allowed to take them. If you want to give Vivian something, fine. Give her anything you want from the Elena family. There's nothing good from the Elena family anyway. Caleb suddenly fell silent. Yes. What good ever came from the Elena family? Nothing. Not the people. Not the things, nothing. I threw the torn documents into the trash and turned to go upstairs. Mom's death anniversary is in a few days. Don't forget. How could I forget? Caleb gave a sheepish smile. You should get some rest. I'll be working late in the study. I didn't respond. I didn't even look back. That night, I didn't sleep a wink. I went through the entire house, sorting out everything that had to do with the three of us. Photos, I burned them. Anything I could smash, I smashed. What could be donated, I packed up and sent to the orphanage. What was left was just this little house, filled with memories. It was the only small villa the Elena family owned when Mom married into the family. Later, when Mom died, my brother and I couldn't bear to move out. Then Dad moved out to live with Vivian's mom. And gradually, Caleb stopped coming back here too. Julian used to come by every day to play with me. But now, it had been a long time since his last visit. I sat on the terrace, holding a framed photo of Mom. I cried for a long time, until I fell asleep sobbing. The day after my birthday is Mom's death anniversary. That year, she forced herself to hold on until my birthday had passed before she finally took her last breath. I cried until the world blurred. Julian stayed with me around the clock, not daring to blink. And he stayed with me for 8 years after that, 8 birthdays. This was the first one he missed. But it didn't matter anymore. Julian didn't come. But Vivian lingered like a ghost that wouldn't leave. Her social media was blowing up all night. Some nosy people even live-streamed the whole thing to me. Couldn't think of a reason to celebrate. She wrote. So my senior said, let's celebrate your iPad's birthday instead. Honestly, we just needed an excuse to eat cake. A lavish tiered cake. Champagne tower. A little princess in a tiara. Surrounded by luxury bags and designer clothes. She smiled sweetly, gazing lovingly at the man beside her. Julian smiled tenderly back. They looked like the perfect couple. I exited WeChat and slammed my phone face down on the table. And closed my eyes and made a wish to the candle. Mom, please bless me with a smooth path. Mom, please bless me to stay far away from all these rotten people. On the day of Mom's memorial, I waited for a long time. Dad at least sent someone with offerings. But Caleb never showed up. I called him 3 times. No answer. The 4th time, someone picked up. It was Vivian's mother. Oh, Elena. Did you need something from Caleb? Today is my mother's death anniversary. Oh my. It's your mother's day? We totally forgot. How terrible of us. My dog just had puppies today. And Caleb and Vivian are completely obsessed with them. They must have lost track of time. Even if we went now, we wouldn't make it in time. What should we do? Who is it? Mom? It's Elena. She sounds angry. Caleb. What should we do? Hello? Elena? Caleb's voice came through. I hung up immediately and blocked his number. On the tombstone, Mom smiled at me from her black and white photo. That same gentle, loving smile. It was supposed to be the beautiful April of this world, but kneeling there, I felt like I'd fallen into a frozen abyss. I leaned forward and kissed the photo. It's okay. At least you have me. Mom. I will never forget you. On my way back from the lawyer's office, I returned to that small house only to unexpectedly run into Julian and the others. Vivian stood between Caleb and Julian, beaming, holding a large bouquet of flowers. Seeing me, Caleb was the first to speak. Elena, look how amazing Vivian is. Her design just won an international award. I only ever wanted to follow in my sister's footsteps. Vivian said bashfully and modestly. Julian held the design in his hand and scoffed, follow her? She studied under a famous mentor and still couldn't win a single award. This kind of thing depends on talent. Vivian, don't sell yourself short. My eyes were suddenly drawn to the lines on the design draft. I couldn't help but take a few steps forward and snatch it from Julian's hands. Page after page it was nearly identical to my drafts. Vivian had stolen my designs to win the award. You stole my design. Vivian. How could you be so shameless? I was trembling with rage. And I couldn't stop myself from raising my hand to slap her. But before I could make contact, Julian grabbed my wrist tightly. Then, one out a sigh. A sudden, brutal force hit me. I was shoved to the ground. Falling hard, utterly humiliated. Elena. You've been spoiled and willful since you were a child. I've had enough. Vivian won by her own merit. You accuse her of stealing your work. Do you have any proof? If not, it's slander. Sister. I didn't steal anything. Vivian sobbed. You've always hated me. When would I have even gotten close to your computer? She collapsed into Julian's arms, crying pitifully. I whipped my head around and stared at Caleb. My computer had always been in the study. The only one who regularly used the study was him. And Caleb averted his gaze. Clearly guilty. At this point, what more did I need to understand? Elena, look at yourself. Look at what you've become. Julian looked down on me from above. The bright red bracelet I'd once given him was casually tossed to the floor beside me. I honestly don't know why I ever liked you. I looked up with scorn in my eyes. Just about to speak, when my gaze landed on the necklace around Vivian's neck. And in that instant, I trembled with rage. It was a tulip-shaped dime and pendant Mom's keepsake for me. Caleb, what gave you the right to give her Mom's necklace? I pointed at Vivian. My eyes bloodshot. Caleb pressed his lips together, looking uneasy. Elena. Vivian had already started tearing up again, reaching up to remove the necklace. I'm sorry, sister. I didn't know it was from Ante. I'll give it back right now, she cried as she spoke. Caleb instantly rushed to comfort her. Vivian. No need to take it off. I gave it to you. Then he turned to me. It's just an object. Vivian likes it. So let her have it. I'll buy you a better one. Pain as sharp as death surged through me. And my voice shook. That was for Mom. You had no right to give it away. And even if I were to smash it or burn it, I would never let the daughter of a mistress wear it. A flash of shame and anger crossed Caleb's face. Elena. Don't be so malicious toward Vivian. Whatever happened between our parents has nothing to do with her. Vivian covered her face and sobbed again. Julian stepped forward and shielded her in his arms. Elena. Don't go too far. Besides, it's just a cheap necklace. Vivian let out a low sigh. We're giving it to her. He took off the necklace and threw it harshly onto the ground. Come on. I'll go buy you a better, more expensive one right now. Caleb glanced at me and sighed. Elena. Why do you always have to be so unreasonable and make such a scene? Vivian is so pitiful. Yet you can't accept her. You're a girl. Why can't you learn to be a little kinder? And about the design competition. Elena. You've already gotten enough. There will be plenty more chances to win big awards in the future. But Vivian is different. She needs this award to shine. To secure her place in the industry. To be gradually accepted by the Julian family. He tried to pull me up. Elena. Get lost. I pushed his hand away and suddenly smiled. Brother. That was the last time I called him that. The last time I looked at him so seriously. You will get your comeuppance. Caleb frowned but didn't dare meet my eyes. Elena. I will make it up to you in the future. After saying that, he hurried off in the direction Julian and Vivian had left. I crouched down, picked up the necklace, and pressed it to my chest, motionless for a long time. I didn't cry. Not a single tear fell. I realized that when a person is hurt and sad to the extreme, not a drop of tears can fall. The sunset sank. Everything was swallowed by the bloody red sky. The weather forecasts said the temperature had been rising for days. The air was dry and flammable. Be careful with fire. Late at night, I threw thick letters into the fire and then picked up some photos. Julian and Caleb stood on either side of me in the pictures. Their smiles bright and radiant. But now, Looking again. It all felt ironic and laughable. The photos burned away. And the smiles faded into ashes. My eyes reflected the firelight. As they burned, I glimpsed the contents of the letters. Brother wrote, "I will always love and protect my little sister. Let Elena be a princess forever." Julian wrote, "When I grow up, I will marry Elena. Make her my wife. And we will have two babies, a boy as the older brother. And a girl as the younger sister." They had once sincerely made promises to me. They said I was more important than their own lives. But now, the letters were yellowed and old. The black ink had long since begun to fade, just like those ridiculous promises. They always vanish with the wind. The letters burned to ashes, scorching my fingertips. I let go, letting them fall onto the gown on the floor. The flames grew stronger, setting fire to the curtains and wooden boxes. Thick smoke billowing outside. I stood still, my face flushed by the heat, my eyes watering from the smoke. Suddenly, having fulfilled my obsession, Julian called. I didn't answer. Soon after, Caleb called again. I hung up once more. Just as I was about to delete and block their numbers, Julian sent me a WeChat message. "Elena. No matter what, Vivian is still your sister. I hope you can congratulate her on her important moment in life. She really hopes to get your blessing. Tomorrow I'll buy some jewelry you like and bring it back to you. Don't be so willful anymore." Caleb also sent a message. "Elena. Brother promises you he will make it up to you twice over. And about Mom's necklace. Brother will make another just like it. Please forgive me?" I wanted to laugh and finally couldn't hold back tears anymore. I replied with two messages. To Julian, "I won't bless her. I only curse her and her mother to go to hell." To Caleb, "Why don't you go to hell yourself and beg Mom to forgive you?" After sending, I immediately blocked and deleted all their contact information. I grabbed my suitcase, took one last look at the villa full of memories, then turned and left without looking back. Everything that needed to be dealt with was done. I had no more attachments. Shortly after I left, a burning candle was knocked over by the night wind. At first, just a small flame. But the dry air fed the fire. And it grew bigger and bigger, until the flame swallowed the entire villa. The house, carrying thousands of memories, turned to rubble. Vivian, dressed in haute couture, waited below, about to go on stage to accept an award. At that moment, Julian's phone rang. Irritated, he pulled it out intending to turn it off, but accidentally saw the incoming WeChat message. "Julian, sai. Call back immediately. Elena is in trouble." Julian sneered, thinking of Elena's earlier reply. His hatred grew stronger. He casually replied, "What tricks is she playing again?" Vivian was about to go on stage to receive her award. He had neither the energy nor the mind to bother with Elena. This drama was obviously just to disrupt Vivian's award moment. Soon, a call from a friend came through. He impatiently cut it off. Vivian looked at him nervously. "Senior. I'm a little nervous." Julian held her hand. "Relax. I'll be with you all the way." On stage, Vivian's name was called. Julian bent down to lift her skirt. The spotlight shone on her. At this moment, she was the center of attention. Vivian took a deep breath, smiled faintly, and stepped up onto the stage. The phone rang again. Julian answered. An urgent voice came through. "Julian. Elena is in trouble. Last night, Elena's family villa caught fire. By the time it was discovered, it was already a ruin. Elena was still inside the house and hasn't come out. The police say the chances of survival are slim." Julian coldly laughed. "Don't think I don't know what she's up to. Tell Elena to give up on that idea." Before the friend could say more, Julian hung up. To avoid trouble, he switched off his phone. Right after, Caleb's phone rang as well. It was the same friend calling. Just as Caleb was about to answer, Julian cut it off. "She's up to her tricks again. Ignore her. Vivian's award ceremony is important." Caleb frowned. "What does she want this time? What else could it be but making trouble? Trying to lure us back? Not wanting to see us with Vivian at the ceremony? Just trying to make Vivian sad?" Caleb frowned deeper and turned off his phone. "She's really getting out of line. Elena is too arrogant. This time we should teach her a lesson. Julian sneered, couldn't agree more. The applause on stage thundered. Julian and Caleb clapped along, their eyes fixed on that graceful figure. Vivian smiled sweetly at them from the stage. To receive this award, I want to thank two people. My senior and my brother. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today. Thank you. Julian and Caleb both wore the same look of tender affection. Their eyes followed Vivian without blinking, as if the person on stage was their entire world. The award ceremony ended successfully. To celebrate Vivian's win, Julian and Caleb took her on a vacation and shopping trip. On the way to their destination, Vivian asked about the phone call during the ceremony. Did your sister call you? Before I accepted the award, I vaguely heard her name. Don't mind her. She just wants to use her old tricks again. Trying to cause trouble and get attention. Malicious. Senior. Don't say that. Vivian softly defended. Sister just wants to get your attention. She has no other way. It's all my fault. If Senior and brother weren't here to keep me company, Sister wouldn't have come up with such a ridiculous stunt. How about we go back and check on Sister? I'll just pretend I didn't hear what she angrily said to me. Vivian's eyes were moist, like a meek little kitten wronged. Julian held Vivian close. Full of pity, Vivian. You're too kind. That's why she keeps bullying you. Caleb chimed in beside them. Vivian. Don't blame yourself. She's just arrogant and cruel. Just then, Caleb's phone rang. The caller claimed to be a police officer from the capital, asking if he was Elena's relative. Before Caleb could answer, Julian snorted coldly. Police? Elena's bold to fake a police call. My badge number is 10 skanks. We received a report at midnight. There was a fire in one of the villas in the southern suburban district. Surveillance footage shows Miss Eleanor returned to the villa and didn't come out until the house was completely burned down. Because the fire was so severe, only some belongings were recovered, likely belonging to Miss Eleanor. Julian's face grew even more mocking. Playing dead? Tell Eleanor that trick won't work. Even if she's dead. Julian grabbed Caleb's phone and blacklisted the number. Someone like Eleanor, such a troublemaker, would never die so easily. Their private jet landed on a small isle and with a pleasant climate. This isle belonged to Julian personally. Everything there was arranged according to Vivian's preferences. That afternoon, while accompanying Vivian sea fishing, Julian casually scrolled through the news from the capital. The news reported a fire at a villa in the southern suburban district. The fire was intense, making the scene complicated and dangerous. And no body was found. Police checked nearby surveillance and saw no one left the villa. Since it happened late at night, by the time firefighters arrived, only ruins remained. The initial judgment was that the person inside the villa was very likely dead. Julian's finger lightly swiped the news. His eyes briefly vacant. Julian, come on. Smile. Vivian held up a selfie stick, leaning in close. The faint scent of jasmine lingered in the air. Julian put his arm around Vivian's shoulder, cooperating for the photo. This picture's nice. Don't you think? Vivian looked up, her soft lips brushing casually against Julian's chin. They kissed, the atmosphere growing more intimate. On the villa terrace, Caleb held his phone, feeling unsettled. After hesitating, he found Eleanor's number and dialed. Hello. The number you dialed is currently on another call. Please try again later. Caleb called twice before realizing he had been blacklisted by Eleanor. Angrily, having pursued my obsession, he slammed his phone on the table but felt inexplicably anxious. He thought of those calls. The news. His growing unease deepened. But then he recalled Eleanor's race and reckless acts and that fire. His expression darkened. He decided to teach her a harsh lesson. Otherwise, she would become even more uncontrollable. A week later, after vacation and shopping, the group returned to the capital. Julian eagerly took Vivian to the Julian family home. Julian's mother sat in the antique-style hall, ignoring Vivian's greetings and looking at Julian with disappointment. I failed to educate you well. Eleanor had only been missing a few days. And you brought your father's illegitimate daughter here. She's at least your sister. Raised with you. How can your heart be so cruel? Julian's mother was close to Elena's mother and, after her passing, treated Elena like her own daughter. Julian gave Vivian, whose eyes were red-rimmed, a reassuring look and replied dismissively. Mom. You've been deceived by Elena. She set the fire just to get attention. She's such an arrogant person. She wouldn't die like that. Julian's mother stared at him for a few seconds, shaking her head with a sigh. If you don't believe me, you should believe the police. Take Caleb with you and go to the station to collect Elena's belongings. Then you'll know if Elena was lying. Julian's expression shifted, but his tone remained firm. Impossible. Elena started the fire last time to lure me and Caleb there. Vivian spoke softly and timidly. Auntie, you misunderstood. Because Elena once deceived Julian. He doesn't believe her. If you want to know the truth, go see for yourself. Julian's chest heaved violently, nodding repeatedly. Okay. I'm going now. I want to see what tricks she still wants to play. He turned and strode out but forgot Vivian. Vivian, out of breath, chased after him. Julian stopped abruptly, puzzled. For some reason, a terrible premonition weighed on him, making it hard to breathe. In the car, Julian's face was dark and tense. Sorry. The number you dialed is temporarily unavailable. Please try again later. 3 calls in a row. The same voice. Julian called Caleb's number. No answer. Vivian noticed Julian not even glancing at her. She covered her arm and softly whimpered. Julian showed no reaction. After 2 failed calls, Julian grew restless. Eyes fierce. Doctor, faster. The driver obeyed, pressing harder on the accelerator. Vivian cautiously tugged his sleeve. Julian, Nino said, don't be like this. I'm scared. In the past, Julian would have softened immediately, pulling her into his arms to soothe her. But now, he only glanced at her coldly, then frowned again. A strong wave of anxiety surged within him. Vivian looked pitifully at him. Julian, that'll know, sorry. Do you think sister really got hurt? She's so vain and afraid of pain. Julian let out a cold laugh. You're right. She's both delicate and afraid of pain. So this time, she's still lying to me. Vivian leaned against his chest, her voice soft and gentle. Sister just cares about you all too much. That's why she lost her mind. Please don't be mad at her. It's all my fault. I just can't make sister like me. But Julian seemed not to hear her and made no response. His calm face, however, was shadowed with the ominous tension of an impending storm. Vivian's heart trembled, and she dared not say another word. The car turned the last corner and arrived at the villa district in the south of the city. Julian got out in disbelief. The familiar old place was now a pile of ruins. It was obvious the fire had burned for a long time. Many things had turned to ashes. The ashes had been doused with water, some soaked deep into the scorched turf. Among the ruins, Caleb was kneeling on both knees, his hands hanging by his sides, bleeding. He suddenly recalled the news he saw on the cruise. So everything his friend said was true. The call from the police to Caleb was also true. Julian staggered a few steps forward, looking at Caleb, pale and whispering. What happened? Why? After being gone for just a few days. Did it turn out like this? Elena wasn't lying this time? The house really burned down? Caleb abruptly stood up, his eyes bloodshot, and threw a heavy punch at Julian's face. Caught off guard, Julian fell hard to the ground. Vivian cried out in shock and tried to help him up. Julian shoved Vivian aside and began wrestling with Caleb. Soon, went out a low sigh. Both were bruised and bleeding. Only when they were exhausted did someone pull them apart. Caleb collapsed on the ground, face ashen. Why should I believe your lies? Why didn't I answer the phone that day? If I had believed her. If I had come back in time. No, no. Elena must still be inside. I have to dig her out. Like a madman. Caleb crawled to the ruins, digging frantically. Friends tried desperately to stop him, but Caleb ignored them completely. Julian wiped the blood from his face and stood up, heading away. Didn't they say no body was found? Elena must still be alive. She's just angry. She deliberately burned the house, wanting us to think she was dead. A flicker of light appeared in Caleb's exhausted eyes. Right. You're right. Elena's not dead. I'll send people to look for her now. He scrambled up clumsily and staggered away. Julian. Brother. Ah. Vivian, white, frantic with worry, also wanted to chase after them. But she missed her step and fell heavily onto the charred rubble. Caleb seemed not to hear her cries. Julian didn't stop either. He told his assistant to take Vivian to the hospital and then got into the car without looking back. The two cars sped away and soon disappeared from sight. Julian and Caleb arrived at the police station one after the other. Caleb identified himself and requested to see the surveillance footage. After watching it, the young police officer brought out Elena's belongings. The footage shows Miss Elena hasn't left the villa since she returned. She most likely perished in the fire. These are some items found at the scene. Inside a clear plastic bag were a diamond and a badly burnt red bracelet. The diamond shape was exactly the same as the one on Elena's mother's necklace. Seeing this, Caleb's face drained of all color, turning frighteningly pale. This is Elena's most treasured bracelet and diamond necklace, he whispered hoarsely. His throat seemed clogged with cotton, making his voice raspy and difficult. It felt like two hands were tearing his heart apart inside his chest. Unbearable pain. Overwhelmed by immense guilt, Caleb was swallowed whole by it. Julian felt dizzy, black spots flashing before his eyes. Barely able to stand. When Vivian arrived, Julian was already in a bad state. Julian, dinlandana lo sorry. Brother. What about sister? Before she finished, Julian suddenly turned his head sharply, staring at her without blinking, his expression terrifyingly extreme. Vivian shrank back, voice trembling pitifully. Julian. Brother. What's wrong? His eyes were bloodshot, voice hoarse. It's all because of you that Elena lost her mind. When you weren't around, the three of us were fine. It's you, that's you. You bitch. Who sowed discord. That's why I misunderstood Yan. Vivian, why? I will never forgive you. Julian. Brother. I know you're very sad about sister's death. Vivian started crying again. Red-eyed like before. But before she could finish, Julian shoved her away. Get lost. Vivian quickly looked at Caleb through tears. But Caleb coldly averted his gaze. Vivian sat dazed on the ground, a chilling emptiness spreading deep in her heart. I settled down in a small western country. The pace of life there is very slow. Every day, I wake up naturally, go grocery shopping, and cook at home. After meals, I draw design sketches or other things I'm interested in. In my free time, I go out for walks and completely clear my mind. Occasionally, heading for Felbriant session. Some news from home still reaches me. For example, the news of my death being reported. Or that Julian and Caleb are ruthlessly going after Vivian and her mother at any cost. Caleb exposed online that Vivian's award-winning work plagiarized my sister's design and provided a series of evidences. Vivian, once popular due to her award, instantly became the public enemy. Not only that, Julian and Caleb took back all the expensive gifts they gave Vivian. Vivian's mother was exposed as a homewrecker, and Vivian herself as an illegitimate child. Seeing news about them no longer stirs anything in me. The sun rises. Bright sunlight pours down on the land. This is my new life. After living here for a month, I started looking for a job, under a new identity. 9 days later, I successfully joined a new company. Most colleagues are friendly and warm. My boss, a fashionable and beautiful woman, has helped me a lot with work. Gradually, I established my footing in the company. 2 years passed quickly. I made new friends and had admirers. But I'm not interested in dating right now. I signed up for an international designer competition, currently in the preliminaries. The event will be held in a nearby country and attract many watchers. I have prepared a lot for it. One day, my boss Linda told me the company intended to cooperate with a company in Port City and planned to send me on a business trip. Linda looked up from the computer data. You have a Chinese face and speak fluent Chinese. Communication will be smoother with them. I tried to refuse the trip, but how can I handle such an important task? That country has Julian and Caleb. I don't want to set foot there. Even though the business trip was to Port City, I was determined to avoid any possibility of running into those two. Linda gave me a reassuring smile. The trip list has already been submitted. I'll be with you the whole time. Don't worry. Nothing will go wrong. All I could do was prepare for the trip, to ensure I wouldn't meet them in Port City. That night I logged into WeChat, which I hadn't used in a long time, and opened a certain group chat. There were over 20 people in the group, usually lively. I wasn't interested in scrolling through the extravagant lives of young masters and misses. Instead, I searched their names directly. In these past 2 years, Julian had completely ruined Vivian's reputation. But he wasn't much better himself. A year and a half ago, Vivian claimed she was pregnant with his child and cried in front of the media. Because of this scandal, Julian's elders were displeased. Less than a month later, Vivian fell at home and lost the baby. Vivian and her mother was then driven out by the Elena family. They left the capital city for a second-tier city to live. But with Julian and Caleb watching them, their lives were far from easy. From their conversations, I learned Julian was on a business trip in Shanghai, and Caleb was nowhere to be found. With no other useful information, I logged out of WeChat. 5 days later, Linda, 2 other colleagues, and I departed for Port City. The trip was scheduled for a week. Hopefully, I wouldn't be unlucky enough to run into those two. After arriving, I stayed in the hotel except for necessary outings. I vowed not to step outside unnecessarily. The night before leaving, I attended a farewell banquet. It was held at a famous club. Upon entering, I sensed someone watching me. But when I looked over, no one was there. A feeling of unease grew inside me. Midway through the meal, I excused myself to the restroom, grabbed my bag, and prepared to slip away. To be cautious, I left through the back door. Traffic in Port City was congested, so I waited under the shade of a tree. Suddenly, hurried footsteps approached from behind. The steps were familiar. Surprisingly, I felt calm, until the footsteps stopped right behind me. And Julian's trembling, cautious voice came through. "Elena, is that you?" I didn't turn around, lowering my gaze to continue looking at my phone. Julian circled around to stand in front of me. He stared blankly, then took a few steps closer. "Elena, I know it's you." I looked up, a hint of confusion on my face. "Sir, are you calling me?" 2 years had passed. I had cut my long hair into a medium-length bob. My style and makeup had changed completely. Julian's eyes glowed faintly red. "Elena, I know you're still mad at me. It was Vivian who lied to me back then. That's why I hurt you. But I regret it now. Elena, I really know I was wrong." Vivian's tricks were neither clever nor subtle, in fact, quite lowly. Yet Julian and Caleb had both believed them without hesitation. I tried many times to mend things, only to face Julian's escalating humiliation. The people I loved and my own brother increasingly sided with Vivian. Vivian's mother was the mistress who ruined my mother's marriage. Vivian and her mother had always been outsiders to me. The real wounds came from Julian and Caleb, whom I valued deeply. One was my childhood friend. The other, my blood brother. These 2 people had mercilessly raised knives and stabbed me repeatedly, leaving me wounded and bleeding. Nearly 2 years had passed. The wound had healed but left countless scars. The pain was gone, and those who hurt me could no longer stir a ripple in my heart. I called the police. After so long, Julian looked nothing like before, no longer confident, but weary and broken. I had thought without me, he might grieve for a few days, and go on happily with Vivian. Unexpectedly, my place in his heart was still significant. The police arrived quickly. "This gentleman has been harassing someone he mistook for another person," they said. I sighed helplessly and showed my ID. "My name is Stella. I've always gone by this name." "No. You're Elena. Not Stella. We grew up together." "I can't be mistaken," Julian said, looking at the ID but refusing to believe. "Then what proof do you have?" I asked. Julian was speechless. I knew he didn't have a single photo of me. Even the childhood pictures, I had already retrieved them from Julian's wife personally. Before leaving, I had burned all the photos thoroughly, leaving nothing behind. I chuckled softly. See? You don't even have evidence. Just empty words claiming you know me. Who would believe that? Julian's expression darkened. After a long silence, he said, Elena, I know you resent me. But it's okay. I'll make it up to you bit by bit. I'll have that house rebuilt exactly as it was before. When you're free, I'll take you to see it. I didn't want to hear any of that nonsense. I asked the police to keep Julian away and returned to the hotel. I explained to Linda why I left halfway. Then reopened the app to book the soonest flight out. The next morning at 8, I opened my door as expected. Julian was standing there. His clothes were wrinkled, with stubble on his chin and dark circles under his eyes. He obviously hadn't slept all night. Seeing me, the man straightened up against the wall, his eyes brightening. Elena, you're awake. I told you. I'm not Elena, I said calmly. If you have time to bother me, you should be looking for the real one. I walked past him to leave. Julian followed. By noon at the latest, Vivian and her mother will personally kneel down and apologize to you. They had fled to a small city but still couldn't escape Julian's retaliation. Their savings were limited. They had to scrimp and save, and soon resorted to borrowing online loans to get by. I ignored his words and met my colleagues in the lobby. Julian railed not far behind. That guy, who is he to you? Pretty handsome, Linda asked. I looked down at my phone and replied casually, don't know him. Before boarding, there was an issue with my ticket. I couldn't take that flight. I felt nothing. Knowing Julian, he wouldn't do nothing and just let me go. I told Linda and the others to leave first. I stayed behind to handle things. I grabbed my suitcase and scanned the airport hall. It was easy to spot Julian. It was chilly, and he wore a dark gray coat, standing tall and striking among the crowd. He looked at me expectantly. I beckoned him over. Julian's face lit up, and he strode quickly toward me. Elena, my plane ticket was tampered with by you. I said it as a statement. Julian calmly admitted. Yes, but I did it. I can't just let you leave so easily. I looked at him coldly. Do you know why I want to leave? Because you and Caleb are dead to me. Because to me, the two of you are even less important than strangers. Julian started to panic. Elena, I know I was wrong. I'll do everything I can to make it up to you. Please. Give me a chance. Okay? His tone was humble. Nothing like the proud air he once was. No, you're not being manipulated by Vivian. You just think that because I care about you so much, I'll never be able to leave you. But luckily, you are cruel enough. So that day and night I tossed and turned, the pain unbearable, until I completely severed my feelings for you. The color drained from Julian's face bit by bit. But his eyes were terrifyingly red. He moved his lips. Elena, don't call me. It just makes me feel disgusted. Julian awkwardly looked away. Caleb is on his way here. Why don't you see him before you leave? Okay? No need. I rejected coldly. I just want to leave as soon as possible, far away from both of you. I returned to the hotel. Caleb arrived before me. He was holding a stack of documents. His eyes red as soon as he saw me. Sis, I've taken back everything I gave Vivian. Soon, one on a low sorry. It can be transferred to your name. You just have to sign. His hand holding the documents trembled slightly. I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. I just want you to give me a chance to make it right. No matter how sincere his words were, my expression remained indifferent. Without the slightest flicker of emotion. I really had completely let them go. Even though letting go was heart-rending and nearly cost me half my life. No need. I looked at them. I won't forgive you. Nor will I seek revenge. Caleb. Julian. I'm only saying this once. Don't try to make amends. I don't need it. And don't bother me again. Caleb's pale lips moved slightly but said nothing. He understood me. If I had hysterically yelled at him or even hit him, there might still be a chance to salvage their relationship. But I was so calm. Not even a word of accusation. That meant he understood I would never turn back. Vivian and her mother were brought before me by Julian's people. I could barely recognize the old woman as Vivian's mother. The woman before me wore dark clothes. No makeup. Wrinkles around her eyes. Graying temples, looking to be in her 60s or 70s. Vivian looked haggard. No longer the delicate girl she once was. In less than 2 years. She was tormented into this state, clearly had suffered a lot. I have to admit. Seeing their current condition gave me a sense of satisfaction. But at the same time, a chill of sorrow crept in. Back then, Julian and Caleb spoiled Vivian so much. Caleb showed such respect to Vivian's mother. I suffered countless injustices because of their protection and favoritism. Yet after I left, they quickly turned their anger onto Vivian and her mother. Their love and hate, likes and dislikes, all so cheap and shallow. I admit. I hate Vivian and her mother. Despise them deeply. But now, I hate Julian and Caleb even more. If Vivian and her mother are purely wicked and vicious, then Julian and Caleb are foolish and arrogantly blind accomplices. I didn't want to see Vivian and her mother suffer anymore. Nor did I want to see those two again. I looked away. I've seen the people you wanted me to see. Can I go now? Caleb stood there, lost and broken. Julian had Vivian and her mother taken away. He looked at me and gave a bitter smile. Elena, even if you hate me and resent me, I won't let you leave again. I was forced to stay, still living in the hotel. In the days that followed, they tried everything to please me. But I didn't respond at all. Not a single word. Not even a sound. In the end, I even refused to eat. Finally, having fulfilled my sigh, Caleb gave up, and after talking with Julian, let me go. On the 17th day, in Port City, I boarded the flight home. I knew Julian and Caleb must be on this plane too. After a dozen hours, the plane landed. Back home, I happily took a long nap. When I woke up, I found the young couple next door had moved out and new neighbors had moved in. With such speed. No surprise. The new neighbors were Julian and Caleb. Sure enough, I often ran into them in the following days. One evening, after dinner with friends, I saw Julian standing under the streetlight, his figure lonely and desolate. When he saw me, he slowly straightened and up and forced a smile. Elena, you're back. I ignored him and kept walking. He took out a small brocade box from his pocket and opened it. This is handmade by me. You'll look beautiful wearing it. It was a very pretty bracelet, studded with countless gems. His hands were covered with many wounds. But I just glanced at it coldly and withdrew my gaze. I don't want it. Elena. What exactly do you want from me to forgive you? Julian's nearly broken voice sounded behind me. I stopped and turned to look at him. You will disappear from my sight forever. Then I will forgive you. Elena. You're so cruel. I let out a light laugh. And never looked back. After that day, Julian didn't show up for several days. Which suited me just fine. I focused most of my energy on the designer competition, spending all my free time drawing drafts. After the second round, I submitted the semi-final design. 5 days flew by, and I got notice that I had advanced to the finals. To celebrate, I invited Linda and several colleagues to my home for dinner. While preparing, Caleb rang the doorbell. When I opened the door, Caleb handed me a box. This is from a Michelin restaurant. All your favorites. I've told you many times. I don't want it. Stop wasting your efforts. Caleb's smile was bleak. Elena. No matter what I do, you won't forgive me. Right? I'm moving forward. And I hope you do too. After a long silence, Caleb said, Mom's anniversary is next month. Are you going back? I wasn't there 2 years ago. I'm sorry. I momentarily drifted, remembering the phone call to Caleb that day. He'd rather accompany Vivian and her mother, or watch their pets give birth, than spend the anniversary with Mom. Fortunately, having fulfilled my sigh, Mom still has me. Even if I'm in another country, I will still often pay my respects to her. This year's anniversary. Of course. I must go. I shook my head. No need to apologize to me. You should say that to Mom. Caleb said sorry again. Then quietly left carrying his things. Linda walked over and gently put a hand on my shoulder. Another admirer? No. Someone I knew before. Seeing my expression change, Linda didn't press further and instead asked about the upcoming competition schedule. Mentioning the competition, the dark clouds in my heart instantly cleared away. I soon forgot about those troublesome people and past troubles. On the day of the final, I sat in the audience wearing a black cocktail dress. Caleb was there in a suit. Julian didn't come. When the host announced my name, the room fell silent for a moment. Then thunderous applause broke out, under thousands of gazes. I stood up and walked step by step onto the stage to hold the honor that should have belonged to me 2 years ago. I thanked my colleagues, Linda for her guidance, and my mother in heaven without mentioning Caleb at all. After the ceremony, Caleb suddenly hurried over. Elena, Julian was stabbed by Vivian. Do you want to go see him? Is he dead? No. But badly hurt. I'm not a doctor. Going to see him won't help. Caleb stood there silently for a long time without saying a word. Before Mom's anniversary, I had already flown back to the capital. On the day of the anniversary, Caleb waited early in the hotel lobby to take me to Mom's grave. The car stopped outside the cemetery. We got out and walked in together. He brought lots of offerings, as if making up for what was missing all those years. Mom's tombstone still showed her kind and gentle smile. The wind lifted my skirt as I held the trophy and talked quietly to Mom. Caleb stood silently by my side the entire time. When leaving, I couldn't hold back my tears. Caleb's eyes read, and as he asked, "Sis, no matter what Julian and I do, will you never forgive us?" I wiped my tears and calmly said, "I can forgive you. As long as you never disturb me again. I will never forget the torment of those days. Nor can I ever return to how things were with them. The wounds have healed, but the scars remain. I don't want to waste my life on hatred. So I want to forget, to look forward, and to move on." The last flicker of light in Caleb's eyes dimmed. He smiled bitterly. "I understand. I will tell Julian what you said." His voice choked up. "I will move away from next door and never disturb you again." I want to ask, will you come back someday? I can't say what the future holds. But so far, I have no plans to return. Besides Mom, there's no one in the capital worth missing. Whether I come back or not isn't that important anymore. At 10 a.m. the next day, I checked out of the hotel and saw a pale Julian in the lobby. He was sitting in a wheelchair, with his left cheek wrapped in bandages. Vivian had scratched him. It wasn't fatal but would likely leave a scar. Elena. He wore a hospital gown with a jacket over it, looking thin and exhausted. I didn't stop walking. Julian had someone push him and caught up, blocking my way. "Elena. I have something to say to you. I promise. After this, I will never bother you again." I stopped and nodded at him. "I hope you mean that. Caleb talked to me yesterday." Julian swallowed hard. "Elena, will you never give me another chance?" "Yes," I said without hesitation. "If possible. I hope we never see each other again." Julian stared at me blankly for a while, then bitterly smiled and nodded. "I understand. Elena, I promise I won't disturb you again. But before we part, can you let me hug you one last time?" "No." I shook my head coldly. "That's it. Julian. I hope we never meet again." I turned and walked away. Although it was spring, fallen leaves were blown off the branches. They whirled down and were crushed underfoot, making soft noises. No one noticed. No one cared. Back at work, I threw myself into my job again. Thanks to a prestigious award, my salary went up and my work got busier than before. The next day at work, Caleb moved out next door and returned to the capital. That house remained empty for now. A year later, a young man moved in. He had East Asian features like me and was named Ethan, handsome and funny. After getting to know him a bit, I found out he worked nearby. Our offices were close, and our schedules overlapped, so we often ran into each other. A few months later, he expressed his feelings for me. I didn't say yes. But Ethan didn't give up. He was very considerate, never putting me in an awkward position. And I enjoyed his company. Just not ready to date yet. 2 more years passed. During Lunar New Year, I learned from Caleb that Vivian's mother had passed away last month. Vivian herself was sentenced to 9 years for attempted murder. The cold wind howled, but I didn't feel cold. Caleb went on talking a lot but didn't mention Julian. I heard Julian had been hospitalized twice last year for stomach bleeding. Even in the hospital, he couldn't stop drinking. But none of that concerns me anymore. After talking about Vivian's mother, Caleb finally asked nervously, Elena, will you come back for New Year? No. I'm doing well here. 2 months ago, I won another trophy. There's nothing in the capital worth lingering for. Hard work and greater achievements are my current goals. I walked outside, basking in the rare winter sunlight, feeling every pore open and relax. Ahead, Ethan stood against the light, the sun turning the tips of his hair golden, highlighting his already handsome face. My heart skipped a beat. I put away my phone and waved to Ethan, who was waiting. He smiled and walked toward me, his eyes reflecting my figure. Actually, hadn't fulfilled me. Dating doesn't sound so bad after all.